What up? What up? So we are live on a Laker game night. So Mateo, you had some thoughts on AD. So break it down for us.
What up, man? Yeah, so I've been having a lot of thoughts on AD lately, and so is a lot of Laker Nation. He's been slumping, and he's been having these little nagging injuries that he's been dealing with all throughout the year. And so you wonder how much of that plays into his little off year that he's having at both ends of the ball. So we found out yesterday that he's dealing with it's an Achilles. What is it? Looking at my notes here, tendinosis. So Achilles tendinosis, which is like a little Achilles injury. Let me just go through the injuries that he's had throughout the year. So he's been listed with a right ankle contusion, right ankle sprain, lower back tightness, right adductor strain, right calf contusion, right knee contusion, and a right quad contusion. So clearly you see that he's having a lot of trouble on the right side of his lower body. Um, this year, man, he's not really been the same guy on both ends of the floor. On defense, he hasn't been showing that same ability to stay in front of people and to contest shots and really show those athletic defensive plays that he was really good for last year. Um, Offensively, his scoring is down to 22.3 points per game compared to last year's regular season average, which was 26.1. He's taken a lot of jumpers out of ISOs, which he did a fair amount last year, but he's not really moving around as much, I'd say. Um, we thought he was going to take some more threes to, keep going throughout the year, but he's actually down a little bit in his 3-point shooting. Um, he'll kind of go hard in the fourth quarter. If it's a close game, he'll get aggressive, but he's really saving his aggressiveness throughout the game. So I also found out he scored less than 20 points 10 times in the 24 games we've had, whereas last year that only happened 4 times. So that kind of sums
Wow.
up the scoring drop that we've seen with him. So I did mention all these injuries to his right leg, and yesterday we found out that it's Achilles tendinosis. And you think Achilles, and it's like, oh shit, like that's where you don't want to be dealing with injuries as a basketball athlete, especially. We had Kobe, whose Achilles was his downfall. We never got to see that same consistent Mamba after he had that Achilles injury. We only got in a couple games, like his final game, and every once in a while he'd go off. But Achilles can be a real nail in the coffin for guys, so we don't want that. But getting into the tendinosis specifically, I've been watching videos from medical professionals who've been breaking down the stuff. It's an ailment in the Achilles area, but it's not as serious as an Achilles tear, which means that his tendon is still intact. And basically, they got to keep an eye on it and they got to lessen his load. So there's a game going on right now. It's 7 o'clock. He's not going to be playing against the Thunder. And his outlook over the next few games isn't exactly clear. But listening to people talk about it, some say there's a path to keeping him playing in the immediate future if they keep his minutes low. So you just don't want to push that Achilles.
Yeah, that seems risky.
That's what I'm thinking too. And others say you can make him sit, maybe a few weeks and lead him through an extensive rehab program, which I think is definitely the way to go, man. Because I've been wondering what is it? Physical? Has it been mental with AD? Has it been motivation? He won a championship. Does he not feel motivated to beat these lesser teams? I think it's a combination of all of it. But with this recent diagnosis, we can attribute more of it to the injury as to why he's not been that same crazy, exceptional AD. He's been good, but he's got lofty standards, man. He's a champion. He's a really gifted player. So I think part of it's been mental too. So I think let's at least sit him for a couple of weeks and let him kind of clear his mind from just the grind of the NBA schedule. I've been watching him, and there's been a couple games where it seems like he doesn't want to be there, and I just think to myself, Jesus, AD, I wish you could just like take a sabbatical or something, just to, just to get your rest in.
Yeah.
It reminds me of in 2015 when LeBron came back to the Cavs after leaving the Heat for the first time. And what happened was he wasn't looking that good, and the Cavs basically said like, "Okay, we're going to give you a rest for a couple weeks just to kind of let your body heal." He was coming off, crazy postseason runs the last, 5 or 6 years prior, so his body was just tired, man. And the craziness of the bubble year and that playoff run where he was actually fighting through an ankle injury, they just never listed it publicly. So in the NBA Finals, he was tearing it up. He was dealing with an ankle problem in that right leg.
Oh, it's interesting.
Yeah, so I
The
think what
thing
we got.
about let me just say one thing about AD. Like even when he was on the Pelicans, like they called him Mr. Glass. It's worrisome for sure. I mean,
It
it's like
is.
dude's like a dude's like the best, but he's like yeah, he's like fragile. It's crazy. So
It's something you got to take into account because he's our cornerstone for the future, right?
yeah, man.
LeBron's going to have maybe 2 or 3 more really top level years, and he looks crazy this year. But we obviously can't count on him for the long term. So AD is going to be our guy, man. I wonder what these teams are going to look like in a few years when LeBron is gone, how they're going to structure it. But the best ability is availability. That's the old adage. There's some truth to that, but yeah, you do wonder because he's our superstar of the
Let me
future.
ask you, how far do we get without AD, or just with like intermittent AD?
Are you talking about in the immediate
I'm
future
just
now? If he
no, no. Like how far? How far are we gonna get?
without AD?
I mean, I don't want to say without him. I don't think he'll be sat, but like intermittent because they're probably going to be watching his minutes. So,
Hmm.
do you think we can still win? I mean, the championship, would we like save him for the playoffs or?
I think we should definitely start saving a little bit more, especially if it's an Achilles injury like this.
Mhm.
Um, I think we can win games against these lesser teams. We had that game against Detroit where AD sat and we looked real bad, but I think that was just them being tired as hell from this long road trip. So I expect them to still take care of business against the lesser teams. And hey, dude, I think with our guys like Schroeder, Harrell, Kuzma, they all have offensive potential. Getting them some more touches, hey, that we could discover hidden power with those lineups and with those players.
Hmm.
And then the question is, okay, if they get a little rhythm going, how could we maintain that and also ease AD back into the equation? Because part of what his scoring has been down, I think it's been because Schroeder's taken up a lot of shots himself too. They're running plays for him, they're running
Right.
plays for Harrell. Last year it was pretty much okay, run a play for LeBron, run it for AD, run it for them both, or if that's not an option, kick it out to the shooters. Our offense was pretty simple last year. This year we have more pieces, and I think that's been part of his offensive thing too, getting other guys going.
Yeah, it's been an interesting season so far. I mean, to be honest with you, we have one of the best records, don't we? I mean, at least we have like the best road record, or we did. So, I
Yeah,
mean,
we still have some of the top. We got maybe the top record in the
so
West.
we can lean on that. We can lean on that a little
We
bit.
have a cushion. We've built a cushion for ourselves. And
That's
dude, I'm
awesome.
pretty happy with how despite looking pretty shitty at times, we've still been able to win games. That's the goal, win the damn game. So
Absolutely.
we had that awful game against Detroit on Saturday. We didn't really do a thing. I didn't want to do a recap of it because double overtime against the worst team in the East, you can't take care of business
Oh, we
against.
went to double OT with them. Holy
We went to
cow!
double OT with those bums. We made Josh Jackson look like a damn all-star.
Oh
And
no,
that just happens sometimes. Random dudes go off because they're playing the defending
I
champs.
like Josh Jackson on the Suns though. He wasn't bad. I know the Pistons have like Jeremy Grant. They got a little sub over there, don't they? Maybe not. I don't know. Definitely not. Shouldn't be giving us trouble like that though.
They
Um,
they show up against good teams because all their wins are against the Lakers, the Sixers, the Celtics. So they only have like 4 or 5 wins, but they're all against good teams.
might have to keep an eye on them to be honest if they're doing that. That's
You might have to
interesting
look at them for upset potential,
for
because
sure.
good teams will be like, it's Detroit, who gives a shit? And then they'll lower their defenses and boom, Detroit will beat them.
This was a sick breakdown. I think you got to come back and do something for your boy Talon because he tore it up.
Oh, he will be tearing it up if AD's going to sit more, man. He's going to get
Mhm.
even more shots.
Interesting. Okay.
Our boy Talon, just want to touch on him real quick. It
Yeah.
looks like he's become the official first sub off the bench, which is good because usually Matthews would come off, and I think he's basically taking Wes Matthews minutes.
I'm telling you, man, Wesley Matthews not a good player. Like I used to watch that guy. What was he on? Was he on the Grizz? He's on the Grizzlies or the Tims or something. I don't know, but
He
he
was
was.
on a ton of teams. He's just a role player, man. 3-and-D
Yeah,
guy.
I
He
don't know
could
about
be
him.
he could be good, but man, there were some stretches where he looked bad this year. And I'd
Yeah,
much rather give the minutes to Talon, who can do so much, man.
hell
Like,
yeah.
have you seen his ability to get into the paint and also just stay in front of guys on defense and
I mean,
just
he can score for sure. Like I saw some highlights of him scoring. I was like, oh, okay. I think
yeah,
this is pretty
he's
good.
got the bag of like a 5-year pro, man. Like his tricks and his little counters to guys guarding him, it's crazy. And
It's nice.
he just came up in the G League at like a mid-level college.
Wow.
He's a homegrown guy, which is really dope to see, dude.
Lakers get some of those guys. Like I remember that dude a few years back who like showed out for a night, got paid, and then like kind of got let go. But yeah,
Yeah,
man, super.
Lakers draft well in the second round, usually second round, late first round. Kuzma was a late first round pick. Tatum's second round guy. Jordan Clarkson was like a 46 pick. So they have a good track record in the later draft.
Yeah, Clarkson, good player.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Mateo, thanks again, man. This was awesome.
Good shit, man. Take it easy.
See ya.